Welcome to the Roy Snarr Show, entrepreneurship and giving back. Now, here's your host, Roy Snarr.
Welcome back to the Roy Snarr Show. I am so excited of today's guest. Is a good friend of mine, mentor of mine, and business partner of mine. His name is Daniel Gomez. He's an award-winning business coach. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Roy, man, it's an honor to be here. I'm here with, look at this, man. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
You have an amazing studio here. Thank you for having me, man.
I love it. Thank you so much. And we get so many compliments because we get to see the capital of Texas, governor's mansion, and it's just a cool view. It's not like in a little box or anything.
I love it. Man, I'm honored to be here, add value to your audience, and just have a great time with you, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, Daniel's a very busy person. He speaks globally. He's all over the place. His calendar's completely packed. He hosts huge events. He's everywhere, right? And he's taking time out of his day to come sit down with us to share his knowledge, his inspiration, and hopefully create some aspiration in your lives today. So Daniel, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself?
Well, my name's Daniel Gomez, and I love people, right? My brand is Daniel Gomez Inspires. And 5 years ago, my life was turned upside down. You think because you have the nice house, paid off, money in the bank, Rolex, everything, that everything's fine. Then all of a sudden, we got this phone call that my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
And everything that we knew got turned upside down.
Wow.
So I resigned from my job to take care of my wife because she made a decision to have a double mastectomy.
Wow.
And it really put me in a position, was I going to man up and take care of my wife, or was I going to hire somebody? And I chose to honor my wife and just be the leader of my home. So many times we want to lead everything else, but we don't even lead in our own homes.
Yeah, that's
And I want to
true.
encourage you, become the leader in your home. If you can't lead your home, how can you lead an organization? How can you lead your business? How can you lead any followers if you can't take care of your home base? And so many times, that's the biggest flaw we have in our foundation of our lives, is leading at home.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. It's hard too because we get so focused on business and work, and then you come home and you got work on your mind, especially as an entrepreneur. Like it's 24/7. It is a lifestyle, right? It's hard to like turn that switch off. And even myself, I have a challenge. When I come home, I got the 3 kids, the dog barking at me, my wife's, handing me the baby. And it's like, okay, cool. And I'm thinking about all these clients, all these things, but creating that disconnect, because you can't be a good leader unless you give good time. And I think that was one of the challenges, right? You were making phenomenal money in your prior career, but you didn't necessarily have the time to be the leader that you wanted to be at home. Is that correct?
Well, so many times this is a mistake that people make, is they want to bring home work.
Yeah.
And you can't bring work to the home. I as much as I would try to just be a great husband, a great father, there's an aspect that I would bring to the house from work. And you can't do that, because now the lens, right? I want to encourage you, switch the lens, the way how you see things. When you walk out of that office, when you walk out of that building, when you walk, whatever that is for you, as far as you're on your entrepreneurship journey, your small business, your organization, when you walk over that threshold of your door from the office, switch the lens. Take a moment to really switch the lens and say, intentionally, I'm going to be a father when I get home. Intentionally, I'm going to be a husband. Intentionally, I'm going to be a friend to you. Because sometimes, right, I know as entrepreneurs, you love to talk about business, but there's a time where it's like, there's stuff we got to get off our chest that has nothing to do with business, and just be a friend. So you have to be intentional. I think one thing I talk about in my book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, is intentionality gets you the results. So many times we hope that things work out. We hope, and you can't live life on a hope system, because if you live life on a hope system, then there's no preparation. There's no, we don't prepare properly the way we should. So the question I have for you, audience, is, are you preparing properly? Are you really taking a moment for yourself to be intentional and prepare yourself for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year?
That's wow, that's powerful, because you can always make more money. You can't make more time. And that's one of the heartstrings that pulls on me. Basically what you're saying is, I'll be on my phone sometimes at home, and I shouldn't be. And then my daughter will say, hey, did you see that? I'm like, no, I didn't, because I'm working on this stupid phone. Like, things can wait. They're only going to be those ages at a certain time, right? I can always make more money, but I can't make more time. So creating that separate lens is very important. I've been working on implementing that just in my own personal life, and being intentional about it, like you said.
Well, I heard this at a conference one time. Write this down, ladies and gentlemen. One of the speakers at the conference said, time is non-refundable. You have non-refundable minutes, non-refundable hours, non-refundable days. And we have the mistake, and we think that time is refundable. It's not. Once the day is gone, it's gone. And if you're not in the present, if I'm here with you and I'm not in the moment, I'm worried about something else, then your audience can tell, because you got that deer headlight look, and you're Like, what's going on? No. Time is non-refundable minutes. And you got to understand that it's only one shot that we get. This isn't a practice life.
Yeah,
People make the mistake and say, well, I got years, I got decades. No, you don't. You have one shot.
Wow.
This is not a practice life. You get one shot in life. What are you doing with this one shot? What are you going to do with the minutes you have, with the days you have, with the months you have, with the years you have? And we make the mistake that we think tomorrow is promised, and it's not promised.
Yeah. Wow, that is so true. And that drives me. Like, one of my biggest fears is to be in that rocking chair. Hopefully I make it that long. When I was 21, I didn't think I'd make it to 30, but we had a lot of fun. But getting into that rocking chair and then thinking, like, if I only would have it, or if I could have spent more time with the kids, or if I would have just not have been scared and done this big business leap. I mean, that's part of the show, right? I mean, I never thought I'd ever have a show. And there's one point I didn't want to. I didn't want to be in the spotlight and then have people find me on social media. That wasn't my thing. But I didn't want to have that fear of regret. Like, if I could have only done things better, we could have provided a better life, helped more people, impacted them. So being intentional, like you said, is very good, because as the old adage says, I said it before, the best ideas are in the graveyard, right? There's so many people that say, I'm gonna do it. Procrastinators reunite tomorrow. You got to just be intentional and do it right out of plan. So what are some of the things that you do to become intentional? Like, how do you practice that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was writing my book, you on the makings of a Millionaire Mind, we're never taught to play big in life.
Right.
And what I mean by this is we're not used to being on TV shows. We're not used to being on the spotlight, and we shrink back. Anytime the attention and the light goes on us, we're not used to it, because we're taught like this. This is what we're taught at home.
Yeah.
Well, don't be bragging.
You're right.
Don't be showing off.
Yeah.
And we hear this over and over again. And then what happens is the moment you have a big win, you celebrate yourself. Then you're not used to doing it, because you're taught, don't be showing off.
Yeah.
Or here's another one.
That's true.
We've heard this, right? Don't get your hopes up, right? Don't get your hopes up, because if you get your hopes up and you don't get that job, I don't want you to be discouraged. Don't get your hopes up applying at that college, because I don't want you to get discouraged if you don't get it.
Yeah.
So we're taught not to really go after big things. Look, you have your own show, man. This is amazing.
Yeah.
The view is phenomenal. You got $1 million view.
Yeah.
I want to encourage you on this right now. Give yourself permission to play bigger. Give yourself permission to think bigger.
Yes.
Right? Act big, think big, and you'll become big. Let me say it again. Act big, think big, and you will become big. And sometimes, right? Sometimes you gotta do the acting before you do the thinking, because think about this. Why do I say that? Because I don't like working out all the time, but I know that once my body gets in motion, then my thinking changes, because a body in motion can't be depressed. A body in motion will focus on sadness. No, get moving. You're there, and you get the momentum going, and then you start acting in a different way. By the time you leave the gym, you're like, man, I feel good. Yeah. Boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
So you got to give yourself permission to think big, act big, and you become big. And we're not taught that as kids.
Right.
And I think for myself, it's really stretching myself every day to get uncomfortable. When I was writing the book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, I didn't want to write it because I knew there was going to be backlash. There was going to be pushback from people saying, well, Daniel's just talking about money. He's greedy. He's selfish. He's typical. They think it's about money. But it takes money to produce a show.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to tell me who watching this gets free water at home, gets free Wi-Fi, gets free groceries. You don't. It takes money to run your home.
Yeah.
And what breaks my heart, the whole reason I wrote the book, that I pushed through that intentionally, is because I thought about, if I could just help one person a day.
Yeah.
And that's what my focus on. That's what really motivates me, because of course you got to work on Daniel, you got to work on Roy, but then it's like, okay, who's one person I can help today?
Right.
And that really helps me to go because the truth is, I don't feel like doing it all the time. It's just, it's human nature.
Yeah, it's more than just feelings. You get to have, and that's where discipline comes in, right? Because I don't feel like doing a lot of things, like working out. My definition of working out is walking the dog around, going for a jog. I don't feel like doing that half the time, but I know I have to do it to keep my mind fresh, to stay in motion. And that's why there's a big difference. There's a lot of people that don't do that. They rely on their feelings and their emotions only without discipline, and that's why they are where they are.